But our producer, Mohammed Ayaz, was like, Salma, I'm giving you this chance to do an interview with the man himself. So,
Salma, what an introduction.
What a nice way to finally meet you, Keegan.
No, same here. And you were introduced to me as the female version of Zahir.
Do I look the part? No, not quite.
So glad to be here. Nice, warm Durban weather. Very hot.
Very. You dressed just right for Durban weather too as well.
Straight to the gym after this. But yeah, interesting topic, and almost flows on from what we were discussing yesterday or last week. Sorry. Sort of planning your finances for December, and with all the specials, it's almost like they know you're getting your extra cash and you're going to have more time, a little bit extra funds on hand, so they start bombarding you with all the specials and the deals.
But like the marketing tends to go like on a frenzy when it comes to November, December. Is that like a general thing? Definitely. That your marketing campaigns just have to be all out?
It is. I was watching Netflix, and I should have got the name of it, but it was a marketing documentary.
Yeah.
And it shows you how the big brands sit around just
for
before December, and everything is pre-planned. It's like buy now, pay in January, take it now, and just because you got the extra cash in your pocket, you're feeling a bit better, and like they say, it's a 45-day month from December to the end of January, so we need to be careful, and that's why we're here. So we'll give the listeners some tips, and also from a retailer point of view,
right,
I'll give you guys some inside knowledge on how we try to trick you, because I always just feel it's just one way in terms of you got retailers with the best management marketing teams just setting up all these campaigns, and you're just sitting here starry-eyed like wow, and you got no one.
I need that. I need that also. Yeah.
And that's the word need. So needs and wants, you need to clearly define that starting off. That's where it starts. What's your wants? What's your needs?
And something also that's so important is when it comes to this time around, and I've spoken about this before, is you start planning your holidays. You want to go away, and when you're thinking originally everything's booked out and all that, but all of a sudden in December you get this influx of adverts with all the places you want to go to are all of a sudden now available.
Yeah, exactly.
Now you're thinking twice now.
With the advent of social media and the microphones in our smart devices, you'll see the types of ads directed at you, so you just, if you're a little bit alert, watch, when you're watching social media, be it your YouTube or whatever it may be, you'll start seeing the influx of, I'm beginning to see all the accommodation networks that are got all these specials. So December can be expensive if you don't plan properly. One of the tips, if you're booking accommodation, is try and book earlier, or even go after the rush when it's sort of off peak. Because I've got some units that during December it's literally double and triple the price, where somebody books way before and pays at that time, you can actually save more. So booking way in advance and paying upfront is one way of saving. If you've got a family of 3 or 4.
How much in advance?
Generally,
sorry, I'm throwing you off.
It is the earlier the better.
Okay.
I would say realistically 2 to 3 months if you can. Some guys start planning their summer or the December holidays in June and July. So I would say whenever you got the money, try and plan and pay it. December is always going to be peak period.
Yeah.
I mean, I was just playing on bookings.com looking at
I love bookings.com.
We were in Cape Town 3 weeks ago. You couldn't get a hired car.
Yeah.
So, those are the things you need to plan for from now. So, yeah, bookings, it's nice to play around.
It's fun to scroll at night and just look for accommodation in random places.
And have fantasy holidays like, with $1,000 I could stay here.
Yeah.
So it's not going to take you very far, $1,000. So, yeah, guys, it's nice. And it's also nice to shop around with the different hosting sites. You got Airbnb, Bookings, Trivago.
For sure.
Those are your 3 best. And also what the guys do is, they swap, so you stay in Durban. If you got accommodation swap, you got friends, people, I'm a single guy, you got a single friend in Cape Town and Johannesburg, swap an apartment. That's tending to be the trend these days. So that's where you can save. So that's a nice hint. I've done it and it's worked, it works quite nice for people who, if you know somebody especially.
For sure. But let's get into the overspending itself. Now, there's 2 things we want to highlight here. Tell us first, what is the 13th check or bonuses per se? What happens there that when people get that can make it a little bit dangerous or make people less cautious about their money? And how does that connect to overspending in particular? What is the 13th check? Does everybody get it, or how does that work with most companies?
Growing up, my mom was a nurse, so she was a government worker. I think it was a given for government workers to get the 13th
13th.
check. Generally now when you're applying for jobs and you look at government posts, they always say benefits and it's 13th check. So, it's there. You get your big corporates, that multinational companies, they have KPA, so key performance areas. So they'll have a target of, let's just say 12 million. So that's a monthly target of 1 million a month. Let's just say for sales. And if they hit the 12 million, then they get the 13 check. So not everybody gets it. Smaller businesses, it's very hard to sort of get, especially if you got 10, 15, 20 staff. How do calculating it is quite tricky. For a business owner, if you incentivize your employees, it's a nice thing for them to work to. I always worked well with incentives. So if I had an incentive, I would definitely work for it. So that worked well for me. But generally, it's not every company. A lot of government institutions do offer 13 checks. And the longer service you have, the better your benefits are. From my experience, all nurses generally get it. So that's basically a 13 check. So if you're getting 10,000 Rand a month, you get in December, you get 20,000 Rand a month. So it's dangerous in a way because a lot of people, the habits, and these are sort of human nature and it's common behavior. They'll get a credit card and they'll spend on that knowing that, they're getting extra cash in December. So they've already spent the 13th check. It's supposed to be your extra money is already pre-spent. So, people go like, I'm getting 10,000 extra in December. I can take this.
It's going to cover. Yeah.
So you take it on credit, you get the interest of 17% that they charge you on your credit card. And end of the day, you think you actually got everything under control. And then when it comes, that 13 checks already spent. So that's the danger, guys. Just be careful of getting into debt and banking on your 13 check. Generally, if you've got a home loan or a bond that you're knocking off, the best thing you can do is put that, let's just say 10 grand into. So it gives you an extra month. And you do that consistently for let's say 6-7 years, and then you get your birthday bonus. Some companies give you that. That's another 13 tick. So you
nice. Oh my word.
You can, so you dump in that. So let's just calculate that an extra payment. You can easily knock a few years off your bond, and then now the repo rates just come down, I think 0.25%. So with those decreases, and you keep your payment the same or slowly increases, and you put your extra cash into it, knocks off your bond quite significantly.
Priorities.
So a 20-year bond can come down to 15 years. So guys, you have to think out of the box when you get your extra funds. Don't pre-spend it. I think that's the best advice I can give you on that.
Fantastic. I love that. And also it's about prioritizing also what's important and where that money actually needs to go to, which brings me to the big one, the B word, budgets. So what are some practical tips from you? I would consider myself middle class family with 2 kids. And when you're looking at your average family now, budgeting wise, what would be some of your tips or suggestions to planning a budget for a family like us?
One thing we had, and so I grew up in a middle to low income family, and I had 2 siblings, and the biggest expense was the school fees.
Yeah.
So I remember it was a bit, and that's how I was brought up. It's like the school fees, let's just say 5,000 Rand. If you pay before the end of January, it's 3,000.
Yes. Right?
Yes. So to all the parents out there that got that's the best thing you can do. It's out of the way, it's done and dusted. You don't have a month, and you got the extra income. So that's one headache. My sister's done it for her little one, and I always encourage her to do it. So budget is getting your priorities paid up or planned for as soon as you get extra income. So for me, that's really worked in a household of me growing up. Other people want to put the extra cash into their bond. Some people take it and get a new car or deposit on a new car. So, it's also at this time of the year, there are the car companies that also know that you're getting this money. So some guys get triple, quadruple their salary or whatever it may be. And you can get duped into putting that into a deposit on a new car. So, there's all these buyback sort of purchase plans that the motor vehicle industry gives you. So, they bring down, they can literally bring down your installment to what you want to pay. So if it's normally 40,000 and you go to them and you say, hey, I can only afford 25,000, just saying for a high-end car, they'll bring it down to that. But you're going to pay for it in the long run. So at this time of the year, be careful. It's also some of the guys, because it's the year end, it's almost like to get rid of the old car stock, because the car ticks over one more year. So they start selling the sort of the older, or I'd say like a 2024 model next year is going to be 1 year old. So if it's still sitting on their floor, they'll sell it a bit cheaper and you think you're getting a deal, but then next year.
See there.
So the car dealerships know what they do. So
And now everybody else does.
yeah.
Thank you.
So the best time to buy a car is not in December.
Okay.
It's the next year. So if you're buying the same car next year, you can say, hey, it's a year old. You know what I mean? So it should depreciate accordingly. So that's one of the things you shouldn't. If you're budgeting to buy a new car, push it for January.
Fantastic. Look at this. Now I understand why Keegan is such a prized commodity on the social network. They're very possessive about Keegan. But let's talk about the overspending and the pressure, right? And now we go on to just put, and I've spoken about this before on several programs, when it comes to year end, there's the aspect of gifting. There's we touched on travel already as well. What sort of pressure do you think is put on, not just by the marketing companies, like you hinted at earlier, the companies themselves, what they're doing behind the scenes to kind of get you to spend more, but also society in general, the community trends, it's forcing you in the direction of just using your money.
Yeah. And for me, we grew up where you couldn't, everything we bought was cash. And I think one of the best ways to save is keep cash. So you don't, let's just say you got.
Is that not dangerous?
It can be, but I'm not talking about huge amounts. I'm talking about, let's just say for family of four, that's, I don't know what it costs, but let's just say 1,000 rand for the weekend in terms of going out to eat and that, when that's finished, that's it. Because when you keep money electronically, and they've done surveys that you spend like 12% more when you swipe, you don't feel the money and the energy of it leaving you, and you're like, oh, my pockets are empty.
Empty wallet.
Exactly. So so you don't feel it when you got electronic money, but when you got cash and you had 10 notes of 100 and now you spend 500 and you're halfway there, you're like,
a little more aware.
It's Friday night and I've only got half of the money to last me till Monday morning. I need to, spend a little bit wiser. So for me, that's where you can easily spend. And also the food delivery apps, delete those.
The worst.
Yeah, exactly.
For me.
Guys, convenience costs.
If my husband could delete that app now.
From a retailer, from a person selling products, there is, to make it easier, it's going to cost. So unless you are really busy that your time is worth 10,000 rand an hour, that you're too busy to walk down or even make to the shop to buy your food or to make your own food, then maybe the food delivery apps are valuable. But if you're just lazy, it's costing you. It's about 1.5 times more in terms of delivery, and it's more on the app. And, ask yourself, what are you saving? 20 minutes? What have you done in the 20 minutes to make up that money? Have you earned more? If you haven't, then I think you need to relook at how you spend and why you're buying it. What is that convenience for? Is it just costing you more? Are you lazy?
It's lazy.
And most of the time it is, unless you, like I say, you're on the 30th floor of a building, the lifts are broken, and you're hungry. Yeah, you can make a plan. But really think about convenience costs. And when it comes to food, those delivery apps, they generally for 10 to 15% more. I've seen some of them 1.5 times the price, and then you have to tip the driver, and then it costs, man. It costs.
No, and then, like you said, you kid yourself sometimes into thinking, like what you mentioned earlier, you've got a certain amount of money. So you think, okay, that's within my budget. And slowly that little 350, 450 starts adding up. And the month before you know it, you spent easily so much just on takeout alone and ordering through those something eats companies we all know and love. And that's where all that money goes into. But let's talk about how we can break the cycle now. What would be your tips with just a few minutes to go till the news? If you were to give some ideas now, strategize tips now for people that are now sitting in December, that check is coming in 2 weeks' time, perhaps, for most people.
Firstly, listen to shows like this where you get the insight.
For sure.
We try and keep you guys, the info that you get is coming from a retailer, and their whole business model is to silence people like us because they don't want you to know how they work. So you will always get tips here. It comes from a good place with good energy. So understand that everything that is marketed towards you is to make you spend more. And so if you look at that, you're getting bombarded every day with adverts, specials, buy now, pay later, whatever it may be, take it on credit. What are you doing now to educate yourself on the other side of okay, I need to save.
Mm.
And generally it's nothing. So you need to put that effort into it, because for free, you're going to get bombarded with stuff making you want to buy stuff. And, your mind is a fertile field. Whatever you throw in there, it's going to grow. So you keep throwing that in, you're going to think everyone's doing it. Everyone's got the app. So I must get the app. Everyone's ordering food takeaway. So I must do it. But that's because they're feeding their fertile minds with whatever is being thrown at them. They're not filtering out what's being thrown into their mind and what's growing in their mind. So you educate yourself on the other spectrum of it, on how to be savvy with your money, how to not use modern technology unnecessarily because it costs. I think that's where it starts. That's, if you go back to the old days of how they did things, and you'll see how they budgeted, how they spent. A typical example is my mom wanting to travel to Joburg, and she wants to take a bus. It's like, but I saw the price of a bus ticket versus an airline ticket, and it's convenience. Okay. She's old, so she doesn't have much time. I mean, she's got a lot of spare time. So to take a bus is not a problem for her. Where somebody doesn't have 5 hours to
they're not going to spend the whole day in a bus.
You can learn a lot of new tricks from the oldies. I think that's one thing I can give you, is like, look at how they did it in the old days. And that's generally the more robust way in terms of not spending. That's how you learn.
Now, if there's one or two things I want to ask that was not planned, obviously, in the discussion, but has just come to mind that as I'm speaking to you now, you have so many younger people now that are going out to work over the holidays. You have like your Gen Zs, your 18-year-olds, your 19-year-olds.
Yes.
What advice would you give to them and their parents? Because I really take my hat off to them. When we left school at 16, 17, our minds were not on working really. A lot of us, like myself, we started with Al Ansar volunteering at 17 years old.
Yeah.
And it was just for the fun of it, like, hey, look what we're doing. But we were focused now. You had to study, and then we had to do certain things. The generations, I feel now, that are now coming out at 19, 20-year-olds, their minds are on making money.
Yeah.
They're starting businesses. Your pop-ups in Durban, a lot of them are now run by young people who have now had this idea, and maybe an uncle helped them invest, or their parents, or something or the other. So I admire that. What advice would you give them with the pop-up culture and going into 25 to just make the millions?
I'm so glad you asked it, because we've got two little helpers at the stores, fresh out of school, just finished matric. The first thing I'd say is, guys, pack your lunch and take homemade food to work. Don't go and work for, let's just say, 250 Rand and then order a delivery of food for 100 Rand. It just doesn't make sense. So firstly, take your food, make your own food so you actually understand it. And if I was a parent, I'd make him buy his own food so he can understand the cost related behind it. That's one thing I'll thank my mom for. So that's number one. Make your own food and take that so you can understand the cost saving behind it. And to try and get paid in cash, because you understand and feel money. When you spend pure or hard cash, it's different to swiping. You don't feel the energy. So like I say, let's just say you get paid in 10, 20 Rand notes. Okay. And you go, to buy then a chicken burger for 80 Rand, it's almost like 4/10 of your day.
You're going to think
so
now.
You say, whoa, that's 5 hours worth of me working for a meal of a chicken burger, chips, and a soft drink. Is it worth it? And that's how you feel and understand the value of money. There's the monk who sold his Ferrari and the richest man in Babylon. To the juniors or the guys, go and read that book. It'll teach you.
My father loved that book.
Exactly. Yeah. It'll teach you the basics of finance and how to sort of budget from a young age, and just the pure value of money in your hand.
Fantastic. You've been so informative. It's almost 4:00 on the dot. But thank you so much for that insightful discussion. If you were to leave anybody with any personal tips from yourself for December, anything else to add on to that?
So don't be swayed by all the marketing and propaganda. Buy what you need. Don't buy what they're telling you to buy. That's the best thing I could tell you.
Buy what you need. Thank you so much, Keegan. You've been exactly what the show needs as well. I can see why they love it so much. But all the best to you for the December as well until we meet again.
Awesome chatting with you, Selma. Thank you very much.
Thanks so much, Keegan. Bye-bye. That is Keegan there sharing what he needs to share with you. Of course, all the secrets behind the marketing gimmicks to make you go money crazy and shopping crazy come December time. It's always fun here on the social network, where we share a lot of insight and a lot of information pertaining to this life and community in general. Butterfly on our WhatsApp line says, I have envelopes from February. Example, December holiday,
car service extra. It helps a lot. You place a little what you can afford. I like that, Butterfly. That's clever. And I think that that's something that people can actually implement. Keep aside that little bit of money and say, I have this kept aside for fees. There's uniform money kept aside. There's budget for holiday eating out. We're not going to eat out maybe during November so that we can eat out during December. You maybe just start to plan something. I'm probably the worst one of planning because I need to start implementing the cash in your hand idea now, huh, Ted? We need to start thinking. Then we actually know. I'm one of those people. Are you one of those people that when the notification comes on the bank, we don't even open it? When you use the card, is it just me? Is it you too, Ted? When you use the card and that message comes, I just don't even open it. But yeah, that's something I plan to change in 2025. Let me know as well what's your struggles when it comes to finances over the holiday season as well. I'm Salma Kazi Wahab. On the other side of this, after the news at 4, we're going to chat to the team from the Berry Chef that made everybody go crazy with their strawberries and dip chocolate and the brownies and the works. They are going to be right here in studio, and we're going to talk about them growing their business and what they have planned for Souk 2025. All that coming straight after the 4 o'clock news.
Radio Island Star, Durban, 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg, 105.6 FM.
Looking for the perfect Umrah experience? Look no further. One Stop Travel and Tours brings you exclusive Umrah group packages with Qatar Airways departing from Johannesburg. Enjoy a seamless journey with flights, accommodations in Makkah and Medina, and visas all included. Experience spiritual peace with Ziyarat Tours guided in English. Departure dates start from December 25th, returning by January 14th. For a stress-free, soul-enriching Umrah journey, call One Stop Travel today at 031-271-2800. One Stop Travel and Tours. Your pilgrimage, our priority.
Butterlicious, butterlicious, butterlicious. When the food melts in my mouth, so does my heart. Blended by our expert chefs with pure cotton seed oil. Divine lasts longer, so cook more with Divine. Divine makes every meal a special treat. It is Butterlicious. Approved as part of the Heart and Stroke Foundation Eating Plan, Cotton Mark SA, and a proudly South African product. Divine Cooking Oil. Butterlicious.
Radio Unsarred. An informative Islamic global perspective. This is Al-Ansar News.
Making news, these are the 9th of December. The news from Durban 90.4 FM, Peter Maritzburg 105.6 FM. Over 500 new Metro Police officers are deployed in eThekwini, Ameri Kimonina. eThekwini municipality has released over 500 newly trained Metro Police officers so as to step up its crime-fighting efforts and by-law enforcement. The mayor, Cyril Kaba, has been speaking at a passing out parade in Durban today, saying each year they plan to recruit over 400 officers so as to reach their set target of 4,000 Metro Police officers. Kaba says that the recruits should live above board as they take up their new responsibilities. In more news now, the Ray Nkoyani municipality says officials are striving to fully restore power to part of Port Shepstone on the south coast. Some residents and businesses have been without electricity for over 3 days due to a dispute over job grading that has seen some workers down tools. Sal Musa from the Obersville Ratepayers Association says that residential areas such as Obersville and Oslo Beach and a host of others have been greatly impacted. Musa says technicians who have been working tirelessly to restore power have been receiving threats preventing them from completing their work. In other stories now, flights at OR Tambo International Airport are currently unable to take to the skies on time due to aircraft refueling problems. Passengers are once again left stranded today following last week's chaos with the SAA. Passengers in Durban took to social media complaining that departures in Durban have been affected as a result. Various airlines have posted messages of delays with travel updates, links to various schedules. Transport Minister Barbara Creasy says the refueling challenge at the OR Tambo International Airport has been attended to. She's explaining.
Well, I've just received a call from the CEO of AXA